So you've inherited a tenant and they trash the house. What do you do next? Hey guys, it's Brad from probateresource.com. So I created Probate Resource to be a one-stop shop, all-inclusive resource for people going through the probate and inheritance process. We built a website and a YouTube channel and all the different content to help you answer all the questions you might have, not just the legal aspect, but all aspects of the probate and inheritance process. By the way, we're also a real estate solutions company. That's where my background is. So we buy properties for cash. If you have an inherited property and you love to sell it for cash, you want it fast and easy, we'd be happy to make you a quick cash offer, make it as easy as possible. Or if you want to go the traditional route and list the house on the market with a real estate agent, we have a fantastic network of real estate agents all across the country that we work with that are probate and inheritance specialists. So let's get into it today. So today we're talking about the inherited tenant who trashed the house. We recently purchased a house just a few weeks ago from a couple. The gentleman had inherited a house from his parents, and at the time there was a renter in the house. At the time that he was going through the probate process and all that sort of stuff, he really wasn't that concerned about the house because there was a renter in the house. They had been there for a little while and they were renting and paying rent, and everything was fine and everything was hunky-dory. So he wasn't really worried about it. Well, fast forward to a year and a half later, the tenant stopped paying rent, and then the tenant had also, in that course of time, basically trashed the house. This guy was not a landlord material. He didn't check on the property as often as he should have, and ultimately it got in worse and worse condition until one day when he finally had to deal with this and get the tenant out of this property and actually go through eviction process because they didn't pay. That was a whole new world for him. How do I go through evictions? Then he had to deal with all that, and all of a sudden he realized, oh my gosh, this house is trashed. He was retired, his wife was retired. They didn't have the time or the energy to deal with this mess, and basically they were faced with, well, what do we do here, right? This was a perfectly good house. Now this tenant has trashed it. Do we fix the house up, which they had the money to fix it, or do we sell the house just as is and not mess with it? Obviously, he chose the latter route and he sold the house to us. He reached out to multiple investors. They decided to go that route. But at the end of the day, he had to sort of weigh whether he wanted to go through the stress of fixing this house. Obviously, whether he's doing the work or not, he's got to dedicate his time and resources to picking the right contractors, getting bids. Is this contractor the right contractor? Are they capable of doing this work? He didn't know much about construction. So, what do I do? How do I fix this? Does this need to be fixed? Should we fix that? Do we open up a can of worms? If we fix this, then we got to fix that, and that. That's how construction is. You open up a can of worms and you end up having to deal with a whole bunch of other issues that you didn't think you otherwise had to deal with. So in his situation, he decided, I don't want to mess with any of that, right? I don't want to fix it. I don't have the time or the patience. He had the money to fix it, but to some people, it's not about the money. It's just about the time and the effort and the stress. So he opted to sell the house for cash. Over the years, we have bought tons of properties from people who inherited a house. There was a tenant in the house. The tenant trashed the house, and then they're stuck with this trashed house that they don't know what to do with. My opinion is obviously if you're trying to maximize money out of it, and we tell everyone this, if you're trying to maximize every dollar out of a property, you should fix that property up, get it in tip-top condition, list it with a really good real estate agent in your area, and you will get top dollar for it. But that takes time, money, and effort. Are you willing to do that? Only you can answer that question. I can't answer that question for you. So if you're willing to go through all that, then absolutely you should do it, and you will get paid back for your efforts, right? Now, if you don't want to mess with any of that, selling the house as is to an investor is probably your best fit. So then who do you deal with? Who do you know who to deal with? Well, you can go on Google, right? You probably found us on Google, or maybe you got some letters in the mail. I would reach out to some investors that you can find. Obviously, they're not all created equal. There are some investors out there, and I've done other videos about this, who claim to buy houses for cash who will ultimately sort of waste your time. If they're putting you under contract and they're putting in a 30-day due diligence period or doing a 45, 60-day closing, you need to run the other direction. And don't just chase the highest offer you get. You need to look at the offers you get. And if you get a bunch of offers within like a small ballpark of one another and you get this one up here that's like way higher, do not go with the higher offer. Trust me, I have never seen that work for a seller, ever. Usually the one that's like way higher than everybody else's, they're gonna waste your time. It's probably not gonna go through. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. So if you've got 3 or 4 offers from these investors in this quick, maybe they're all within a few $1,000s of one another, and you got this one that's like $20,000, $30,000 more, run away from the other one. Trust me, just trust me. Do not take that offer because it's probably not going to come to fruition. I can tell you right now, okay? Not to say that it may, right? There's a possibility, but more times than not, most of those sellers end up coming back to us later and they're like, yeah, that contract fell apart. What do we do now? In fact, I've got a property under contract right now that I'm buying in a couple weeks. Same situation. I happen to know the other investor who had put it under contract. That investor was just trying to wholesale it. That investor offered too much because they were an out-of-state investor. They didn't know the area well. And I know this person. They're in a group that I'm a part of. And they put it under contract for too much money. They couldn't sell it to anybody else. Nobody else wanted to buy it for that price. They led the seller on for 30, 40 days and then finally terminated the contract. And then the seller came back to us and said, hey, okay, like, will you buy the house? I said, sure, this is my offer. I'll buy it for this. And that was, here we are. In 2 weeks, I'm closing on it. So that happens in the business. You're going to deal with some people. So make sure you're doing research on the companies you're working with to make sure you're dealing with a reputable company. And then, if you get a good offer from an investor, then you should go with it because they're going to take the stress out of your life. They're going to buy it as is. They're going to mess with it. They're going to do the rehab, all the above, right? So I feel like in most cases, that's actually a better bet if you value your time and your energy and your stress level. If you just care about the dollars, then absolutely more power to you. You should fix that property, fix it up, make it look nice, list it on the MLS with a very reputable real estate agent in your area and make top dollar out of it. Absolutely. And I hope you get top dollar for that property. Absolutely. So let's talk about dealing with the tenant and the aftermath of the tenant. Should you sue the tenant or try to seek damages? You absolutely can. And first of all, I'm not an attorney. I don't know your specific situation. I highly suggest that you consult with an attorney and do not take what I say as legal advice. But I'm telling you, I'm speaking from experience here, where I've had tenants trash properties, I've had tenants flood properties, I've had tenants pets ruin properties. I've had, most of the time, these tenants don't have any money. So if you sue them and seek a judgment against them, all you have is a piece of paper. Can you garnish their wages? Yes, you can. You can go through a process and garnish their wages and recover some of that money. But you're going to have to pay an attorney to do that in many cases. It's going to take time. Either you're going to have to go to court, the attorney's going to have to go to court. There's a whole process for that. And in my experience, and a lot of other investors I know will tell you the same thing who are landlords, it's not worth your time. Just chalk it up as a loss and move on with life. And don't bother with it because, yeah, you're going to sue them and you could get a judgment from them and they owe you some money, but your chances of collecting on that money and them paying you a dime are next to nothing. You could collect some money, and I know people who have gotten reimbursed by a tenant, but more times than not, you'll never see another dime, even if you have that piece of paper and that judgment that says that that person owes you $3,000 in repair because they don't have any money to begin with. So you can't squeeze blood from a rock, as they say. Like, it's just not going to work. So that's my advice to you today. If you're dealing with a property you've inherited and the tenant has trashed the place, those are your options there. So I hope that helps you out. I'm Brad with probateresource.com. Like I said, we've built Probate Resource, our YouTube channel and our website, to be an all-inclusive resource to help you through the probate process. If you have a property that you want to sell for cash and you want to hit that easy button, I think as those Staples, I think said that once upon a time. If you want that easy option, we'd be happy to make you a cash offer on that property. We buy properties all over the US. We also have a fantastic network of real estate agents that are probate and inheritance specialists all across the United States. We'd be happy to refer you to one of those agents. So go to probateresource.com, fill out the form there on our website, and a member of our team will be in touch with you ASAP. Thanks again for watching this video. Have a great day. Bye-bye.